so this is the syntax for doing that in Git, and then also for Subversion. Okay, so GitHub is it's a website. It runs on an application called Tutorius, which is an open source application. It runs on, I believe, Merb, and it's a Ruby application. So you could actually go out and get the source code for Tutorius and start up your own Git version control site if you wanted to. GitHub is really nice because they do everything over secure keys, and so you're able to go in and set up and use the key to the site, and I'll show you how that works here. This is my GitHub account, and so this is the plan page, and you can see that you've got some different options here for the plans. One thing about GitHub is that you can host as many projects there for free as you want that are open source, but you only have to pay for private. So you can host public and private repositories on here. And then as you go through and set these projects up, you add the keys so that you can administer all the commits over SSH. You don't have to do the commits over SSH, but when you do a push or a pull, which is how you get stuff on or off of GitHub, it's all done with keys, so you don't have to type in passwords every time you're doing that. If you set up a passphrase when you generate a key, then you would. So just real quick, it just gives you an interface here where when you generate a key, you just copy it to the browser and paste it in, and then you're set up to work with that repository. So here's an example of some of the repositories that I have up here. There's the single track repository, some projects that we worked on. And then here's an interesting thing that you can do also is you can watch repositories. So you can track different repositories. So this one here, I've been tracking this repository called jQuery Jeditable, which is it's a plugin for jQuery that lets you edit things in place. So you type into a text field and it saves it automatically to the database. And so I have a fork of this going. I've forked this project and I have my own version going for it where I've added support for two other things like checkboxes and radio buttons, which they didn't have. So when you look at a project on GitHub, this is the clone URL. So if you were to copy this project, this is the URL that you would use. So you would take this and copy it to the clipboard, and then type git clone space git colon / and then the URL there. And what that'll do is that'll pull that repository down. You can work with it offline and branch it, do anything you want to it. But if you don't have the commit permissions on this project, you won't be able to push them back up to GitHub to contribute to the project. So this is just shows kind of a basic repository browser, which if you've worked with Subversion at all, you'll see this is looking pretty similar to other systems where we have an online repository. Okay, so let's talk about GUIs for Git right now. A lot of people aren't comfortable with the command line, and they would rather work with a GUI to get stuff done. And when I first started using Git, there was only one GUI for it, Git C, which comes bundled with it, and it had kind of this goofy looking square window that would pop up. You could see the branches and stuff, but it wasn't real intuitive. It was just hard to work with, and it was more for viewing stuff. It didn't really have commands built into it. You couldn't do anything with it. Now there's 3 others that have come out. There's Git GUI, Git Cola, and GitX. And let's jump out here real quick and take a look at one of these. This is GitX, and this is the one that I prefer. And I was hoping to be showing you guys this stuff in the command line, but GitX wanted to update itself, and then it broke because my Git version wasn't new enough. I had 1.5.3 and I needed 1.6. And so I got stuck doing a MacPorts update about a half hour ago and kind of blew out part of my presentation. So I'm just going to show you these screenshots here. This is really nice because what this does is it allows you to see and track these changes in color. You can go in here and look at it, and it will show you with a red minus what was taken out. The green plus shows you what was added in, and you can do this for every file. And so if you have multiple files in a commit, then you will see these. You'll see these changes for each file, and then you can click on the changes and look at these. If you look at this history view here, this is kind of the representation that you see when working with Git repositories and Git GUIs. And I'm going to show you real quick how this looks on the GitHub site. They have put this into a series of charts so you can see what's going on with the repository. And they've got one on here that will show you everyone that's on the project and what they're doing with the different branches. And so you can see here, it'll show the different people and what branches they've pulled off and what they've been doing. So GitHub builds this whole deal based on the pushes back to the central repository. And you know, we are talking about a distributed version system, but if you guys remember back in the slide I showed you where the distributed one still had the hub in the middle, that's kind of how this works. You don't need to use GitHub to work with Git. You can actually pass commits, like in a token ring, I guess, around between different developers. But GitHub is a little more familiar to people that are used to working with the centralized version control system, in that, you know, it tracks and generates graphs for all these things. And so you can kind of see here, you know, these different tags here, what was done with these different branches, who was working on them, when they got merged back into the project. So you can see here that the developer that started the project, he was the only one working on it for a long time, until November 14th. And then other people started to help. So you can see here, this would be another branch that he made on his own and then pulled it back in. And then down here you can see where stuff is dead and it hasn't done anything. And so what happens is when these ones down here get brought back in, then they'll generate these lines that come back up to the top line to the master branch. So this is a real nice way to take a look at stuff and see how it goes in the project. And if you look here, this is kind of the same thing. It's just oriented